right, we're all set.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Kat from the Down Syndrome Association of Houston. We'd like to thank Allison for partnering with us. She's been a great partner with a lot of our presentations and workshops. She's always helping us out so that our members know everything that needs to be known. And here at the Down Syndrome Association of Houston, we're a great resource center for any information people need to know about their loved ones with Down syndrome, or even now, just kind of anything anybody needs help with, whether your child has Down syndrome or not. But again, thank you, Allison, for hosting this. And I'm going to turn it back over to you because you have all the information they need to know.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Kat. So thanks for spending an hour with us on this frigid Saturday morning. I actually grew up in the Midwest, and I love the Texas heat. So this is miserable. This is exactly what I got away from. So anyway, so I guess everybody's hunkered down, but we're glad that you're with us here this morning. So today, as we're going through, this is interactive. We got a small group. We may have some other people join. But as you have questions, if you'll just put your questions in the chat box, we're going to get to as many questions as we can today. Kat's going to read those questions to me. And then also today, we are recording. So if you have to step away or if you miss something, this will be recorded and the slides will also be in the recording. So if you want to, go back through the slides later, you can certainly do that. So I'm Allison Schaberg, Consolidated Planning Group. We are a special needs financial planning firm. We're here in the greater Houston area. We do serve families all across the United States. And one of the things that we do, I mean, obviously we work with clients and things like that, but we really try to put out a lot of educational events on a regular basis surrounding special needs topics. So today, what we're going to talk about is a letter of intent and why you might need one. When it comes to special needs planning, there's a lot of buzzwords. There's a lot of things that we hear about on a regular basis and things that we supposedly need to do. And sometimes that long list of things that we need to do, it just kind of, some things get put on the back burner. And what I have found is a letter of intent is something that is commonly put on the back burner. So I'm excited to share this with you today, to just share a little bit about myself. I'm married. I have 4 kids. I have 2 with special needs. I have one that is still at home and still a minor. And the other one with special needs is kind of crossed into adulthood. So I've kind of been everywhere along the trail of the planning process with my own kids. So I do this professionally, but certainly also personally as well. So here we go. Okay. So what is a letter of intent? So basically, I like to refer to a letter of intent as also a family love letter. This is a document that is just really going to ensure that our family members, our friends, our successor guardian of our loved one basically knows what we keep in our head. So as parents, we keep a lot of knowledge in our head. We eat, sleep, and breathe this every day. We know things like the back of our hand. Sometimes even spouses don't know as much as we do as a parent. And kind of the daily routines. And so we just kind of go through things. Life is busy, our full-time jobs, our marriages, the kids, and all these other hats that we wear. And we just go through the motions somewhat thoughtlessly. But so the whole point of this is, what if you're not here? What if you're incapacitated? What if you can't speak this? Does somebody know exactly everything there is to know about your child's history, the routines, the doctors? I mean, we're going to get in the weeds with all of that kind of stuff. So some people ask on a regular basis, do I even really need a letter of intent? Is this another legal document? So when it comes to legal documents, some of the things we know as special needs parents or otherwise, we have a last will and testament. Maybe we have a revocable trust, a special needs trust. One of the buzzwords we hear all the time is guardianship. When our kids are turning 18, if they need guardianship, these are all these things, power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, these are all legal documents that we're talking about here. But when it comes to a letter of intent, it's probably one of the most important pieces of your planning process, but it is actually not a legal document. Okay, so basically, this letter of intent, this family love letter, like I like to call it, is communicating your knowledge, your heart, your hopes, your dreams for your child, and really everywhere that you guys have been along the way. There's so many things that it encompasses. It identifies diagnoses and health history, medications, treating physicians, everything down to likes and dislikes, allergies. So if we know that we have a child that XYZ makes them meltdown, well, someone else that would be stepping into your shoes to a grieving child, clearly, need to know these things. What makes them tick? What makes them meltdown? Where did they go to school? Where have they had issues at school? Maybe there was a school that didn't serve their needs and they're not in that school for a particular reason. Same thing if we had a medical professional that we left for a particular reason, or we found one that was more effective. All of those types of things. But not only are we doing everything for the child from where the child was born, down from the county that they were born in, we want to get some family history here too. So, mom and dad, their family history, their health history, any significant diagnoses or genetic mutations that we know might be down the line that could affect in the future, or things like that. That type of thing you're going to want in your document as well. So, here is kind of a generalized list of some of the things that you might want to have in your letter of intent. So when we're talking about a letter of intent, what I would like to say is, honestly, anybody can make a letter of intent, and you can do it on a computer, you can do it in a notebook, a handwritten thing. I recommend a word processor or something that you can edit easily. We do have a form fillable document that we share with our clients that is basically, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit. It's basically everything you need, and all you have to do is add in your information. And I say all you have to do. Creating your letter of intent can be an emotional thing. It's not just, yes, it's all in your head and you do all of this on a regular basis, but putting this down, and the fact that what if you aren't here, or what if you were incapacitated, and sometimes just the daunting idea of who would be taking care of my child in the event that I'm gone. I work with a lot of families that literally don't know that answer. There is no perfect person. Maybe their family is really far away, or they don't have the capability of taking on your child. And so that's scary as well. But so what I would say is get started. Get started on your letter of intent. This cold weekend that we're all staying in for might be a good place to start. You don't have to do it all at once. And so if you do it in a Word document, or if you have a form fillable document that you can use, then you can go back and revisit this on a regular basis. One thing with, depending on your child's diagnosis, I understand that we're here with the Down Syndrome Association today. There are other comorbid conditions and other things like that that can be an issue. If you have a child that has a rapidly changing condition or medications, we got kids on G tubes and some of these, other ventilators, any kind of other, critical type care, you're going to want to update this on a pretty regular basis. So typically, we want to see it updated about once a year. But if things are changing quickly, then you might want to change it before then. So some of the things that we have on our list, we talked about the family information, not just the child, but family, parents, grandparents, siblings, that kind of thing. Medical history, care. We're talking about government benefits. So if your child is already receiving anything, whether it's SSI and Medicaid, MDCP, I mean, any kind of waiver or anything that your child might be on, or for most of us in Texas, our kids are on the interest list and nowhere in sight as far as receiving any types of benefits. So we talked about the educational employment history. So if they're connected to vocational rehab with the Texas Workforce Commission, if they're working, or if they've had previous work history, we want to put that all there. And some of this stuff is just, like I say, it's common sense. We just live this. We live this every day, and we don't really think about it. It's just putting down spiritual values, where they go to church, How does that work? Are they part of a special needs ministry at church and that kind of thing? So we talked a little while ago about some legal documents, special needs trust, power of attorney, for both finances or medical, and anything that is important as it relates to insurance policies, bank accounts, any special contact information for any of the advisors or physicians or consultants or anything that you're working with your child and any programs that they might be in. And of course, the difficult thought process of any type of final arrangements and what your wishes are there. This is something that a lot of people don't talk about, and you don't have to think about it long, but it's just letting somebody else know what it is that you wish for that, because they don't know. And so many people do not talk about this. And it's like the time comes and people don't know what to do. So this is an example of our special needs workbook. I'm gonna let me stop share for just a second, and I'm gonna bring up our workbook, the whole workbook. But so let me see if I can scroll this. Okay, can you guys shake your head if you guys can see the okay, the workbook? Okay, great. Glad you can. Okay, so this is 19 pages, which sounds excessive, and I actually have clients that have some that are much longer. You don't have to write a story, okay? You can tell the story of your child's life and kind of their history and all of that stuff. But this is what I'm talking about, just this form fillable one. Again, you can create it yourself. You can put it in a notebook. You can do however you want, but we do have documents out here for this, and just all of the information that long list of stuff, it pretty much encompasses the 19 pages. So even like down to blood type, visual functioning, there's just all kinds of stuff on here that we kind of don't get in the weeds with on the presentation, but it's definitely out there. So I'm gonna jump back. I'm gonna jump back to the presentation. If you just bear with me 1 second. Let's see here. We'll go. I think okay. There we go. So so that's kind of just basically in a nutshell of the letter of intent. And just a raise of hands or in the chat box. I would like to know if any of you that are on here today, have you already put your letter of intent together? Do you have, how was it for you? Was it an emotional experience? Was it monotonous to get this together? Or is this something that's been on your radar for a while that you've been wanting to do? If you'll just put your comments in the chat box on that, I would love to know that. So when it comes to caring for a special needs child, there are some caregiver concerns. As parents, I keep saying we have all these full-time jobs and these full-time hats that we wear. But 53% of caregivers said their own health had worsened due to caregiving, and that their declined health affected their ability to provide care for their child. The thing is we get so busy living life that we forget, or we think, I don't know, when you feel good, you feel good. And so you don't envision a day where you might be incapacitated or you might not be able to handle the things that you do. But and in addition to that, so when it comes down to caregiving and being the best that you can for your child, we got to take care of our own health. And basically it's saying that sometimes as parents we don't. And I know as a mom we put everybody else, dads, moms, we put everybody else before us. 55% of caregivers are unaware of how to establish a lifetime financial plan for their special needs child. And this is something that sneaks up on us, right? So basically we pay for our children's care out of current income, and sometimes even retirement. Most of the time, like after you retire, you continue to pay for your child's care out of your current resources and your current income. But what happens a lot of times is where we're so busy living life that we're not looking at the future and what the future looks like of what if I'm not here, if I have a child that's going to need care for the rest of their life, how much do I need? Where would they go if I don't have a named family member to consider? How do I get on interest list? What facilities take waivers? what facilities are private pay, and we have a lot of lists for that kind of stuff. So, so that is just something to keep on your radar. And as you're planning for your special needs child, whether they're junior high, high school, they're adults already. Um, the time is now. So I say don't ever beat yourself up about what you haven't done. And it's about building on the foundation. And if you're here today and you've got some, you're ready to kind of get started, I think that's important.
I'm sorry. I saw your phone call, but I'm doing some important things.
Okay. So I see our chat box, Kat. Do you wanna read me those? Okay, let's see.
So it looks like Tatiana was not aware of creating one,
Okay.
and she's glad to learn about it. And then Bobby has not done a letter of intent, but would like to.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And as far as the booklet is concerned, we do share those. We do free consultations for families. So when we do individualized planning, and what that basically means is that we talk to you in one-on-one and talk to you about the planning that you've done so far, and we do some listening on really what's important to you. We're happy to share that booklet with you. But really, we custom design plans for people based off of their needs, wants, and goals for their family, for their loved ones. So when it comes to special needs planning, there's this list that has come up on the screen is some things that should be on your radar when it comes to this. Um, a plan, a well-developed plan, it starts whenever you're ready to get started, and it kind of takes the next steps of what you've already put in place. So when we say we're custom designing, like I said, we do a lot of listening. We want to understand a lot of the moving parts, because when it comes to having a special needs child, you don't just have a special needs child. If you're married, you don't just have a special needs child that needs care for the rest of their life. You may have other children that are going to college and other things like that. And whether you're single or you're married, when it comes to planning our life, we know that realistically we could spend 25 to 35 years in retirement. So a lot of families are struggling to figure out, how do I pay for long-term, you know, um, special needs care for my child when I'm fearful that I don't have enough for retirement for 25 to 35 years. So we help close the gap on those types of things and kind of look at the things in the different buckets and make recommendations there. So let's talk about this list for a minute. And we do have a YouTube channel. So this recording, we'll put this recording out next week to everybody, and there'll be a link to our Facebook page, a link to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel has past recordings, and basically there are past recordings on every single one of these topics on this list, and we put different things out every single month. But so how do I develop a comprehensive special needs care plan? We help with that. Future care cost estimate. How do I know, what my child is going to need? If my child's going to need care for 20 or 30 years, but it might be 20 or 30 years from now, or 20 years from now before they even start needing care, we're able to do future care cost estimates. So that gives us a good understanding of what we need to set aside for that. Then, of course, Texas waivers and interest list. This is, I like to call this another buzzword that we're hearing all the time. Are you on the interest list? Are you on class or HCS or Texas Home Living? There's several of them. There's other ones too. There's the Yes waiver for mental health. There's all kinds of them. But basically, if you're in Houston, it's the Harris Center. This is where you can get on these lists, the Harris Center. And if you're in Fort Bend, that would be Texana. You can get on these interest lists, and class has their own separate phone number to get on the interest list for class. So these interest lists are waivers that provide money. They provide nursing services or hours. They're designed to keep people out of residential facilities and give them home and community-based services. The waiting list for these interest lists are very, very long. People really complain about how long they are. So the sooner you get yourself on these lists. So if you're not on the list, mark this down. You need to call the Harris Center in Harris County. It used to be MHMRA, or Texana in Fort Bend County, to get yourself on these lists. So that way, in the future, your child may be able to get some services in the future that would be kind of offset by state funding. So then we talk about SSI and SSDI. It's understanding the differences and knowing when to apply. We have the largest interest in SSI and SSDI. When we do these topics, we have 200 people sign up for these topics because honestly, it's confusing. A lot of our kids basically don't qualify for anything. Okay, so we've applied before. Clearly, our children are disabled, and we've applied and we were denied. So SSI is a means-based program. Means-based means it's based off of your income. If your child is below the age of 18, it's based off of your income. So SSI is means based. If you're married, you can have $3,000 in assets. You can have one car and one house. If you're single, you can have $2,000 in assets, one car and one house. And if you have more than that, basically you're not going to qualify for SSI. So if you ever felt frustrated, you got a letter, you said you were denied for SSI and you can't believe it because clearly your child's disabled, it was based off of assets. But what happens, and a lot of times people don't know this, so I want you to write this down, is when your child turns 18, it's based off of their assets, not yours. Okay. So that magic button, even though they still live in your house, you still claim them on your tax return, they turn 18, it's based off of their assets, not yours. Okay. So with the Social Security Administration, Down syndrome is like a presumptive disability. So what that means is they don't question it. Okay. There's no question of the disability. So Down syndrome cases for SSI are typically not denied once the child turns 18 and it's based off of their assets. So the moral of the story is if you want your child to qualify for SSI, which right now is $794 a month, and it also Medicaid, you need to make sure that they don't have more than $2,000 in their name. Okay. And this could be from all sources. And I want to remind you that sometimes grandma and grandpa, when your child was one, bought like savings bonds. Sometimes grandparents like savings bonds or other things like that. It's all sources, whether it's mutual funds, savings account, checking account, savings bonds, it could be anything, but they're going to combine that all together. So what happens if I have more than $2,000? Let's say I have a lot more than $2,000 in my child's name and my child's a minor. There are places that you can put it. One is the next bullet point are ABLE accounts. Okay. An ABLE account and a special needs trust are the two places that you can have money for your special needs loved one that are not going to be counted against for SSI. So money can be in an ABLE account. An ABLE account is under the 529A. Okay. We're used to 529C for college. So in 2014, they enacted the 529A for ABLE. And it's basically the same type of fund for like it is for college, only it's for special needs individuals. And basically you can use it for all things special needs and college. Okay. Here we have a question, Kat. You want to read that to me?
Yes.
Okay, had no idea what that was. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No worries.
Okay, let's see. Veronica said, for SSI, does that include parents' insurance policies?
Okay, so that is a good question. If the child becomes the owner of the policy, so they do ask about permanent life insurance that might have cash value. They definitely do, but here's how you fix it. If you are the owner, okay? If the child is the owner, it is going to count against them. So when the child turns 18 and the child is the owner, most insurance company policies, so if you bought a policy on your child when they were a minor, when they turn 18, most insurance companies, they become the owner of that policy. There's a simple form. You contact the insurance company, you tell them you need a change of ownership form, and your child signs and makes you the owner. So as long as the parent or someone other than the child is the owner, then those assets will not have to be counted. But if the child is the owner, then they definitely will. And then again, for right now, if you're applying, I mean, most of our families don't qualify. I mean, clearly. They have more than $2,000 or $3,000, to their name. So most of them don't qualify right now, so it doesn't matter. But so if you are applying prior to your child turning 18, then that cash value in the life insurance plan would also, in all of the plans for your entire household, would count against you, basically. So that is a great question. So we do have presentations on ABLE accounts, but so here's the deal. Because people think, well, I'll just hide the money. That's what they think for SSI, and they find it. Okay, there's no such thing as hiding money from SSI. Okay, but having it in the right buckets and moving it into an ABLE account, which will allow you to spend the money for the special needs of your child, and also help pay for education if they're going to higher learning or a certificate program or things like that. So some people say, well, what if I already have a 529C for my child and they're not going to college? You can convert that 529C to an ABLE account $15,000 a year. So ABLE accounts, you can put $15,000 a year into for a total of $100,000. As long as the account value does not go over $100,000, it will not be counted against you for SSI. Okay. So SSDI is a working based. This is like your 40 quarters, or so basically they need 6 quarters before age 24. But how a child qualifies for SSDI or RSDI is if their parent is already disabled under the Social Security Administration, or if their parent is already retired. So if you have a disabled adult child, you file for SSI and Medicaid, you apply as a disabled adult child, so your children, okay, will be entitled to 50% of your retirement benefits, your Social Security retirement benefits. Now, it depends on what age you take it. So if you take it earlier at age 62, it's going to be 50% of that benefit. If you take it at age 67, it's going to be 50% of that benefit. If you delay it to age 70, your benefit will be higher at age 70, but your child's benefit will be 50% of your full retirement age. Okay. So that's while you're alive. If something happens to you, then your child will be entitled to 75% of your retirement benefit or your disability benefit. Okay, so this is where they might switch from SSI and switch over to RSDI. Basically, you're not going to like double dip and get the 794 plus 50% of the parent's benefit. They're going to even that out. But after you qualify, after you retire or you're disabled and your child is under your record, then after 2 years, they will also qualify for Medicare. So SSI is means-based. It's $794 a month right now, and Medicaid comes with it. SSDI, Medicare comes with it after 2 years. Typically, Medicare only happens for people that are age 65 and older or disabled after 2 years of becoming disabled under the Social Security Administration. Okay, so the other thing that we want to keep on your radar, this is a big topic that we talk a lot about in some of our other presentations, is beneficiary designations. And let me tell you why. Basically, here's what happens with most people. Most people say, okay, if I die, then that's easy. My spouse will be the beneficiary. And if my spouse is dead and gone, then that's easy. I name my children. Okay. And if you've done that, you're like 99% of people. Okay. So we have the secondary beneficiary and we name our kids. Okay. This is a big no-no. It's a big no-no for special needs. And it's really a big no-no for people with minor children. And here's why. For people with minor children, not special needs, it's a bad thing to do, because if you die and your child is a minor and you've left the child as the beneficiary, basically what happens is that money sits in trust and nobody can get to anything until the child turns 18. And when the child turns 18, they give the child all of the money. And most children are not capable of taking large sums of money at age 18. It's an unwise thing. So that's the reason for non-special needs children. The reason we don't want to do this for special needs children is because that's going to make them lose their benefits. We were talking about the $2,000 and the $3,000 for SSI. So if we leave a special needs child as a beneficiary of a life insurance policy, and we name it. So let's just say for a moment that the child's name is John Smith. And so the beneficiary is John Smith. The money is going directly to John Smith. John Smith is going to lose his SSI and Medicaid because it was more than $2,000. Okay. So, how do we do this? How do we fund care for our kids? Well, first of all, we talked about a special needs trust a little bit. That's another bucket, a place where we can have money that SSI doesn't care. In fact, there is no limit. You could have millions of dollars in the special needs trust. So, how we fix this is we have a special needs trust, and instead of leaving the beneficiary John Smith, it would say the special needs trust for the benefit of John Smith. So the money would go into the correct bucket, which would prevent John from losing SSI and Medicaid. And I know this is confusing, and we have like whole presentations that just really talks about this. Another way to do this, so some people say, okay, well, you know what, I can't really even afford a special needs trust. I don't have a special needs trust. I don't know that I need one right now. But so how else can I do this? So for people that don't have a special needs trust, you can have a testamentary special needs trust that lives inside of your will. Okay. So basically, what that means is you don't have a special needs trust now, but in your will, the attorney has basically set up that when you die, that a special needs trust is going to be created. And in that example, the beneficiary would say to the testamentary special needs trust under the will of the parent's name. And so that's the right way to name it. And we can help you guys with this. So if you're taking notes, what I would like you to check is your beneficiary designations. And so I'm talking about bank accounts, life insurance, annuities, 401k, 403b, any type of investment accounts that you might have, any CDs. I want you to check and double check your beneficiaries and update those. And it's just an important thing to do. Okay. So another thing is that you can't just uninherit money. Okay. So I've heard people say before, well, so what if my child does inherit this money? So let's say grandma and grandpa didn't tell you, and something happens to grandma, and they leave your special needs child a bunch of money, then that's fine. You can just disinherit the money. Some people think that, and you can't, because if it was left to them, then that can cause problems, and which would require a court order to get it into a special needs trust. So, having said what I said about the beneficiary designations, what I want to share with you is that I know that grandma and grandpa, mom and dad, are sometimes they keep their cards close to their chest. They don't talk about inheritance. They don't talk about dying. They don't talk about leaving money to anybody. But this is a conversation that you need to have with them. And it's not asking them, are you leaving my child any money? Are you leaving us money? It's just saying, hey, look, I'm really starting the special needs planning process for such and such. And what I learned is that we can really mess them up if we don't have our beneficiaries set up the right way. And I'm not assuming anything, and I don't want to know anything about your personal finances, but here's a document. And if you plan to leave anything to my child, this is the right way to go about doing it, so it will not prevent him from getting social benefits in the future. So if you have parents that you might be inheriting, or your children might be inheriting money, it's an important conversation to have while they're of sound mind and body. So guardianship, power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, supported decision making, all buzzwords that we hear on a regular basis. Basically, what you need to know, probably you already do. You don't need guardianship. You already have guardianship as a parent of a child that's under age 18. You can start the guardianship process 6 months in advance of the child turning 18. So, and you might want to, because it is a process. There's a guardian ad litem. They make sure that this is in the best interest of everybody. Some people don't need guardianship. Their kids are pretty high functioning, and they can get by with a power of attorney, a healthcare power of attorney. Some people use a supported decision making agreement. A lot of attorneys don't love those because it's really not a legal document. So they lean more towards the power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, and guardianship. But it just depends on what's right for you. So that's 6 months in advance. as it relates to applying for SSI and Medicaid, I just wanted to jump back up there. You can set the appointment for the month that your child turns 18. Okay, so that's when you can apply for SSI. The month, it doesn't have to be the day after their 18th birthday. The month that they turn 18 is when you can apply. And right now, the Social Security Administration is not meeting with people face to face unless it's an emergency. They're meeting with people by phone, and you can apply online. So what I would suggest is a phone appointment. So if you know that your child is turning 18 in June, I would probably call in March or April and get that appointment set for June. They're pretty backed up. They're pretty behind. So if you actually call in June and think you're going to get an appointment, you might, but the chances are more likely that they're going to tell you, okay, your appointment's August 1st. So just call in advance and get that booked in advance. Okay, so another thing on the radar: post high school education options. There's a lot of transition programs out there. Our kids, some of them, it's a good fit for them to stay in the public school till age 22. Some of them are in private school, and there's a lot of great transition programs with some of the private schools out there. But looking at this earlier versus later, because what we're trying to prevent is our kids coming home from school and sitting around and playing video games or being on a computer or watching TV all day. There's a lot of cool programs in and around the greater Houston area, really all across the state. We do have lists of this. There's all kinds of programs. Some of them are certificate, some of them are just transition based, some of them are degree based. But what I really, really want you to know is that there's a lot of programs with universities and community college all across the state that have great programs for special needs. And we do have a YouTube video on that one where we had some different colleges and different universities and different programs all come together to share a little bit about their programs. So check those out. Not everything is for everybody, but there's just so many. We've got Reach Unlimited and Katie. There's just a lot of different programs and transition programs. But what I want to say is some of these programs, the waiting list can be long. Some of them were long prior to COVID, and they just got longer as a result of COVID because they had to keep all of their students safe and their staff and that kind of thing. So just put that on your list. And then, of course, waiting lists for community-based care facilities. Okay, so around the Houston area, we know of Brookwood. There's a lot of different. There's Summer House. There's a lot of different programs that are out there. A lot of different facilities. In Austin, we have Marbridge Foundation. There's Daymark Living and Waxahachie. There's a lot of programs. Some of these facilities take waivers, and some of them are private pay. So some of them you would have very little out-of-pocket expense. Some of them are very pretty costly. So, but what we know for sure is that these facilities tend to have long waiting lists. Some of their waiting lists can be 5 years. I think that Marbridge and Brookwood have stopped their tours. They used to do tours every month, and it's worth doing. So when they open back up, take a half a day and go do these tours at these places and check them out and see how they are. Because some of them have day programs. It's not just residential. So you can just really, really check all that out. So when it comes to, special needs planning, why do you need a special needs planner? Okay, that's what I do, a special needs financial planner and a special needs attorney. I'm confused. Why do I need both? I hear that a lot. Okay, so the way I like to explain it is, first off, when it comes to a special needs planning attorney, they are nuanced in special needs. Not all attorneys are created equally. You want to work with a special needs attorney, okay, because they know what they're doing. We attend the UT Law Conference, Special Needs Planning Law Conference every year, and they're going over all the things that are new in trust and laws as it relates to SSI and all of these types of things. There are other attorneys out there and they may dabble in this type of thing, but when they dabble in this type of thing, your special needs trust could accidentally fail to qualify as a special needs trust in the eyes of the Social Security Administration. So that is why when it comes to these documents, when it comes to, a special needs trust, it comes to guardianship, this is not a do-it-yourself type thing where you download something off the internet to save a nickel. You need to do it and do it right. So and I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on TV, but it is important that you have a good attorney on your side for this. So when it comes to a special needs planner, it's kind of the same thing. There's a lot of financial planners out there, and they manage assets. They kind of look at the whole big picture of what you need to do from a financial plan. They can help you with retirement and all of those things. But the difference of a special needs planner is, again, that we're nuanced and special needs. So yes, we do all of those things that I just mentioned, but we know what to do to make sure that you have the money in the right buckets, that you don't disqualify your child from SSI and Medicaid. And some people say, well, who cares about SSI and Medicaid? SSI is only $7.94 a month. Are you kidding me? That's groceries. That's not even enough for rent. So we hear that sometimes. But the bottom line is that can and will be an income source for your child in the future, and it's not nothing. Okay, it's not nothing. And a lot of us do have group health insurance, and we have good group health insurance, and our children are covered by that. But they may not always be. Some group plans will allow your disabled child to stay on past age 26. If you've never asked your HR department, write that down. You should ask that. It's a question. They don't bring it to your attention. You ask, and then there's a form that you have to fill out. So you might be able to keep your child on your insurance past age 26. But if you can't, Medicaid might be their only source of insurance. Okay. So, and like for us, like for my daughter, basically, we have great health insurance. I don't really need Medicaid. But what it does do is once a year, it kind of swoops in and pays our deductible because we know she has some imaging and some different things that have to happen annually. So Medicaid basically hits our deductible on our health insurance. So that's worth something as well. Okay. So the special needs planner, special needs attorney, basically they're nuanced and special needs. They can help you make sure that you have the money in the right buckets. And the attorney is the paper and we're the money, is basically how that works. So you have to have the legal documents. We don't create the legal documents, but those legal documents aren't worth the paper that they're written on if they're not funded. Okay. If we don't know where the money's coming for future care. So that's how we work together. We have a list of attorneys that we refer to. I'm sure you guys have had some conferences with other attorneys. There's a lot of great special needs planning attorneys in the greater Houston area, so you don't have to have one that is not a specialist. All right, Kat, do we have some questions?
We had one question regarding SSI, but I will email her the information she's asking for.
Okay, perfect. No other questions?
We just got one. Let's see. Her daughter turns 18 next month. She's wanting to do supported decision making. She can stay in school till 22. She'll need all relevant help here. The attorney list, special needs trust, letter of intent, waiting list for programs, etc.
So on that note, certainly we can help you, and you can have a one-off, and we'll put our contact information if anybody wants to, kind of get in the weeds of their specific situation. We can certainly help you with that. One of the things that has come up more recently that I've been hearing about is as it relates to ARDS at the school and the child turning 18. So basically, when the child turns 18, the school doesn't necessarily have to, the law says they don't have to cooperate with you as a parent, and you don't have any rights anymore when your child turns 18 if you don't have guardianship, power of attorney, or healthcare power of attorney. The supported decision making is it's an agreement. I mean, it's an agreement, and it doesn't really give you any legal rights. So again, we can refer to an attorney on that, but most attorneys are going to lead you back towards or having a supported decision-making agreement with power of attorney and healthcare power of attorney. Guardianship is not for everyone. Guardianship is not just a slam dunk. You don't just get to decide that you're going to have guardianship. If the child's IQ is, below 70, then that's a good reason for guardianship. If the child cannot communicate for themselves, if they can't make decisions, I mean, there's all kinds of reasons, but that's what the courts decide. Basically, the attorney will, and in a consultation with an attorney will tell you whether or not your child is a good fit or a possibility for having guardianship, and then there'll be a guardian ad litem. So it is a process. Get get started sooner versus later. But if you have an ARD coming up and your child has turned 18, you need to have some documents in place to give you the opportunity to continue to communicate with the school, because otherwise they can. Some schools are really wonderful, some aren't. And it just depends, but they don't have to talk to you anymore once your child turns 18 if you don't have these documents in place. Okay, do we have another question, Kat?
Yes, we do. What is the average cost of a special needs attorney or planner?
So we do. So what I like to do, as far as the attorneys are concerned, we do make referrals, and the ones that we make referrals for, we have their price sheet. Okay, so it's not a sliding scale. The more you make, the more we take, or anything like that. So we have their price sheet. Guardianship can run on the low end of $2,500 up to $5,000-$6,000 on a guardianship. Special needs trust, wills, trust, and all that stuff on the low end, probably $700 or $800 on up to a couple of $1,000, depending on what you're getting. And so, as it relates to us and how we work, we do free consultations. So our initial consultation is always free, and what we're trying to do is understand who you are. We want to know about the planning that you've done so far. We're not here to rain on anything that you've done so far, and it's not about looking back of like what, we just want to know, because we want to build on the foundation that you've already started. We want to understand what you have through work, what's available through all sources. So if you're married, both you and your husband, and if grandparents are going to help fund a trust for your special needs child, we want to know all that. So in our initial consultation, we talk about the planning process, we talk about the planning that you've done so far, and then from there, we'll provide an estimate. It just depends if a person wants a specific financial plan. A lot of the families that we work with want a specific financial plan, and this is where we can put numbers together and we can show you in black and white. So based off of your current assets, how much you're saving, when and how can you retire? Can you stay retired? And how much money would you have left over to fund a special needs trust? We can show you how much money you need to fund for your future care and what it's going to take to get you there. So when we're doing planning like that, the written financial plan, like most of the people want to do, we do charge $250 an hour for that. But what we ask for is that you send us your documents, and we will provide an estimate on the front end of this is how many hours it will take. So there's no surprises, and everybody's really different. We have people that maybe they have a few investment accounts and maybe a 401k at work, and we've had multimillionaires that are executives at Exxon and have 30 accounts. So it just depends, and we really, really do customize this for our clients. Okay, we got another question, Kat?
Yes. Can child support go straight into a trust?
Yes, and it should. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. So for any of our the people that are out here today that are in the midst of divorce, or they are divorced and they're getting child support, and that child support is going to continue past age 18, you need to be starting the process now, especially if your child's coming around the bend of 18, of getting that child support redirected to a special needs trust. And it can go a couple of ways. Okay, so number one, you can reach out to the spouse that is paying child support and say, I learned that this child support is going to prevent Danny from getting SSI when he turns 18, because it's going to be counted against him. But it won't, as long as we redirect this to a special needs trust. So will you sign off on your approval of directing this to a special needs trust? A judge signs off on it. It's not a big legal battle or anything like that. You get one attorney, they draw it up, everybody signs off, and then you go ahead and create your special needs trust, and we get the child support directed to the special needs trust. Then it will not be counted against the child for SSI. So in the event that you are not in the situation where you're already divorced and you're already getting child support, but you're in the process of all of this, this is a conversation early on that you need to be having with your attorney. And this is, again, what I will tell you is all attorneys for divorce are not created equally when it comes to special needs. Most divorce attorneys don't have any background at all when it comes to special needs, and they will mess you up. Okay, they won't even think about having the child support directed to a special needs trust, and then the kid doesn't qualify for SSI and Medicaid in the future. So there are attorneys that are specialized in divorce, and or that they can be consulted by your divorce attorney, that they do understand all of the nuances as it relates to special needs and divorce. And this is an important thing, and I'm so glad whoever brought that up did, because it can really hurt you, and it sneaks up on you. You don't realize it, and it sneaks up on you. And not only that, I've actually seen where people actually qualified for SSI and Medicaid, and then later on, the Social Security Administration figured out that you were getting child support, and then they came back and said, okay, well, you owe us $15,000. Now you don't qualify anymore, and now you owe all this money back. And so you can get in a bad way where you're owing the administration, which is never a good thing. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, I see one more, Kat.
Yes. What if child support is already established in the courts?
So if child support is already established in the courts, one thing, and I want to caution you against, is one time on one of our presentations, we had a mom that said, hey, no problem. It's already established through the courts. I just logged into my portal for child support. I opened up a trust, and I opened up a trust account, and I simply just redirected the child support to the special needs trust account. And that sounds fabulous, because you don't have to hire anybody. It was like basically relatively easy, but it's wrong and it doesn't work. You need a court order. So again, if it was already established through the courts, then it's getting, you're going to have to contact an attorney. We need a willing party. The person that's paying child support needs to be willing. And if they're not willing, then it gets expensive, because then you need to get a court order and basically get a judge to say, yeah, you are going to do this. And make them do that, and that starts being expensive. So at the end of the day, even though people get divorced because they, if they got along great, they wouldn't be getting divorced. So I understand that, and I've seen many times where the person that is paying child support says, no, I'm not doing that, because basically if they're going to help you, then they're not doing that. So it doesn't mean it can't be done. It still can be done. It just becomes more of a challenge. But then at the end of the day, as parents, we love our kids, and even divorced parents love their kids. And I've also many times, for the sake of the best interest of the child, seen people come together, and the person paying child support simply signs off on this. We get it signed by a judge, and then you simply open up a trust, and then it's legal. It's not just a matter of I did this. You have a legal document that you can prove to the Social Security Administration that it is being directed the right way. So it's not always pretty, and we see this a lot, but get started. Get started, so that way you don't cross over the age 18. And just know that if you are if your child is over age 18, you might want to delay just a little, not a long time, applying for SSI if you haven't already. Or if you're already getting SSI and you're getting child support that's not going to special needs trust, you are in a situation where you're going to owe that money back to the Social Security Administration. So you might want to get that worked out sooner versus later. So just for sure. All right, Kat, do we have any additional questions?
No, that looks like all there is.
Okay, perfect. Well, it has really been my pleasure being with you guys here today. We're happy to help any way we can. And again, we put out these educational events on a weekly basis. We usually do a couple a week, and we partner with different organizations that provide services for other other services than what we do. We do have Vocational Rehab is coming up this month. Texas Workforce Commission Vocational Rehab. So if you've got kids that want to work, or you've had issues, one of the things that we hear all the time is, I can't get a hold of them. They don't call me back. My person left, high turnover. Oh my gosh, I could write a book on all of the stuff that we hear about, the issues with Texas Workforce Commission and vocational rehab. But we are having a great meeting on that. I believe it's in a week or two. And I expect that be a lot of great information for the people in the greater Houston area that want to get their kids working or get some training and some skills that can get them working. Okay, one more, Kat.
Michelle's just saying thank you for this wonderful presentation.
Absolutely. Well, it's been my pleasure to be here with you guys today. You guys stay warm and stay safe. And like I said, we will get this recording out to everybody and the slides. And if you guys have any additional questions, feel free to reach out. And we're happy to meet with you individually. Because I have kids with compromised immune system myself, we are meeting by Zoom. We meet by phone and we meet by Zoom. And what we have found, it's interesting how the pandemic has changed things. But I mean, we predominantly work with families with special needs. And what we found is before we were meeting face to face, and actually Zoom has been a lot more convenient for everybody. They don't have to get special care and other things like that. So anyway, we're happy to meet with you. We're happy to help you. We're happy to share referrals of other professionals that that you might need their services. And certainly we're wishing you guys all the best in your journey.
Thank you so much, Allison. We really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, you guys have a great day.
You too.
Thank
Everybody stay safe.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye.